Hi there and welcome to this week's vlog. And yes, we're still in the beautiful county of Devon on holiday. This is the last full day of our holiday, and we've had a fantastic time. And today, before I get into the subject I want to talk about, I want to ask you a question. And it's particularly for those of you listening in the UK. I can ask it to anybody, but it's more likely that you'll know the answer if you're a UK resident or you've lived in the UK for a while. And this is the question: what is the only place name in England, it may be in UK as well, that has an exclamation mark in its name? What is the only place name in the UK, in England certainly, that has an exclamation mark in its name? You may want to think about that for a few minutes. Just pause this video for a while and I'll tell you the answer. Well, the answer is Westward Ho. At the end of Ho, there's an exclamation mark. And I mention that because we're staying very close to Westward Ho. And indeed, on last Sunday, we went to a service at Westward Ho Baptist Church. We had a great time. It's a lovely church, a growing church, healthy church. And I was sat next to this gentleman who'd been a resident of Westward Ho for many years. And I just mentioned that interesting fact, which he obviously knew. But he also said this: it's the only place name that was named after a book. Usually, or often, not often, but sometimes, books are named after the name of a place. Well, in this case, apparently he told me, I haven't checked it to see it's true, that Westward Ho, the town or the village, I'm not sure which it is, was named after the book written in 1855 by Charles Kingsley. So there you go, some useless facts for you. But what I really wanted to mention was that in my daily Bible reading a couple of days ago, I read a passage in the second letter of Paul to the Corinthians, chapter 5, verse 20. And as I read this verse, my memory was jogged, or a memory came to me from many, many years ago. In fact, before Sue and I were married. So that's we've been married 47 years, so it's probably around 50 years ago. And this is the verse. It's 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 20. Paul's writing, he says this: we are Christ's ambassadors, as though God were making his appeal through us. And the reason that jogged a particular memory was that when I left school in my late teens, early 20s, a lady in the nearby village called Gwen, who was then a Methodist deaconess, started a group in our own home for young people who were connected to local churches in the villages around, so that they could actually meet together rather than being isolated in their own particular church. So we began meeting, and that's where I met my wife, Sue. So it was a tremendous blessing. After a while, as we began to meet together, get to know each other, become good friends, we began to talk about spiritual matters, our Christian faith, wrestle with different issues. And I'm not quite sure who suggested this, but possibly Gwen, but we formed what was then called a mission band. So as a group of young people, we used to go into local Methodist churches and lead services. And that was quite scary because I'm naturally quite an introvert. But so we were involved in leading services, leading the singing. Somebody would probably give a testimony. Somebody maybe even give a brief message. But that was really a fantastic way of expressing our faith and trying to encourage those who are in local Methodist churches. Well, what's that got to do with Paul's verse in Paul's letter? Well, when we were choosing a name for ourselves, we decided on the name The Ambassadors. So that's what our group, our mission band, our group of young people were called The Ambassadors. In fact, a few months ago, I think it was, we had a reunion, and that was fantastic after all these years. So what is an ambassador? An ambassador is someone who represents their country in another country. They're a representative of their own country, but living in a foreign country. And so what Paul is saying is that we, if you like, we who follow Jesus are his representatives We are his ambassadors. And that's both an enormous privilege, but also quite a scary thing, isn't it? That how do people learn about Jesus? How do people, what do people see when they look at us? Are we living the kind of life that expresses the character of Jesus? Are we showing the same love and compassion and care that Jesus showed? Are we truly living the life of an ambassador? When people look at my life or at yours or anyone who's a follower of Jesus or claims to be a follower of Jesus, what do they see? Are we truly being ambassadors? The world is a scary place for many right now. It's a mess. We don't know how things will turn out, humanly speaking. People are hurting. People are anxious. We need to truly step up to the plate and live out that life of an ambassador, shedding abroad the light of Christ, the love of Christ, being prepared to speak out against injustice and what we see that is wrong and against what God would want. We need to be prepared to serve, to live, to love, and just to shine with the light of Christ. There's a little song that I used to sing as a child. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Let's pray that our lives would shine with the love of Jesus, that we truly do a good job as ambassadors for Christ. We're living in this hurting, broken world, but we're called to shine with the light of Christ and let his love flow through us. So we head back home very shortly, a day or two's time, and look forward to all that lies ahead. But thank you, as always, for listening to this vlog. God bless you and have a great week.